We're sitting in front of the standings wall, as we call it. The Cubs are in first place. That's why Taylor McGregor is on this show right now. Taylor works for Marquee Sports. She does a great job covering the Cubs on a daily basis. You know this team inside and out, so thank you for joining us here on the show.
Thanks for having me. The pleasure is mine. I'm just going to wait for you to do the dance move.
No, I'm never doing that.
We're talking about the Cubbies.
Plesac got natural rhythm. He could totally pull that off. So I want to start with Kyle Tucker, because we heard reports that there may have been talks between the Cubs and his camp about a contract extension. That then was quickly debunked. Is there momentum, based on what you're hearing with the organization, that these two sides could meet, or is free agency like inevitable for him?
Well, here's what I will tell you is Jed Hoyer is stayed consistent in the way that he's approached his job, and that is he will never publicly talk about whether there is not a deal being made, especially during the course of the season. Now, I can tell you that the Cubs absolutely love what Kyle Tucker has brought to the table, and the reality is with a player like this, you just don't get very many opportunities to add a guy who's going to bring 6-7 wins to your ball club. That was why they went out and traded it for him this offseason. So would they like to extend him in Chicago? Without question. And I have had some conversations with him as well. He's enjoying his time in Chicago, so we'll just have to see. Do I think it will happen in season? I would say probably not, but maybe I'm wrong.
All right, so if it doesn't happen, do the Cubs even swim in these kind of waters? If you look at the largest contracts they've ever handed out, this kid just saw Vladdy Guerrero get $500 million. The largest contract the Cubs have ever handed out is $184 million to Jason Hayward. Then it's Dansby Swanson, John Lester, not even touching the $200 million plateau. This guy is playing at a level where he wants more than Vladdy money. Can the Cubs even go there?
It's interesting because when you look in the next coming years, a lot of the money comes off the books. So they will certainly have an ability to do so. Now, if they decide to spend that all on one player, that's to be determined. But like I mentioned, they know the talent they have in Kyle Tucker, and they know how much value a guy like that brings to the lineup. So I think they would be silly to not consider giving him a pretty big number.
Yeah, he's going to want a big number. I have a favorite player on the Cubs. We all have favorite players.
Well, we all know, yeah.
Go ahead. Who is my favorite Cub?
Pete Crow Armstrong.
I love Pete Crow Armstrong. He is a dynamic young player. And when he was hitting barely over 200, was I not telling you he needs to be in the leadoff spot?
Well, listen, you and a lot of other people, and here's why. I think we look at the leadoff spot in a more traditional way, and we think, of course, Pete Crow Armstrong makes sense. He's a guy who has a ton of speed. He can create havoc on the bases. But the reality is the game has changed, and your best hitters are 1-2. That's what we see all across the game. And until Pete Crow Armstrong, over time,
that's 12 games. He looks like the best hitter in 12 games.
Which is what we call a small sample. Okay?
Oh, man.
Until he proves that he is one of the best players, or hitters, I should say, on this team, I don't think you're going to see him climb to the top of the lineup.
Does that mean, does that mean walks? Does he have to walk more?
Well, on base matters, of course. But Shohei Ohtani in LA is leading things off. Okay? So you see Mike Trout leading things off. So I think that's just what you have to understand is the way that Craig Counsell and the way that the Cubs view this is until he becomes one of their best consistently good hitters, you will not see him move up. But I will say, if he does move up, which hopefully is inevitable, it will be a good thing for the Chicago Cubs because it means he will have become one of their best hitters. And when you put that with his speed, his defense, that's an incredibly valuable player.
And I love the guy.
Yes.
You know the most overlooked stat in baseball? Whoever scores first. You know, this year, the team that scores first wins 66% of all games.
You know what's an overlooked stat, too? How many times does the team that scores more win?
That doesn't matter. It's the psychology of scoring first.
Okay.
It's the psychology of scoring.
Okay, we can agree to disagree.
If he can turn a walk or a base hit into a double or a triple by stealing those bases, that means a lot to me. Anyway, we know where I stand at PCA. So we do this thing called Sandy Alcon Theater because I think he's the biggest trade chip eventually at this point. He's facing the Dodgers tonight. I like the Cubs. I love what they're doing right now. Do I think the bottom half of that order, offensive production, is a sustainable thing? No. Do I think they need to replace Justin Steele? That is a massive loss in that rotation. Would the Cubs consider adding to the rotation by making a move for a Sandy Alcantara?
I think, of course, Jed is going to make that phone call and see. And, of course, it also depends on how does this team play down the stretch because the Cubs got off to a really great start in April a year ago, and then they had a horrible May and a horrible June, and really come July, you thought, all right, they're sort of out of it at that point. So if they can continue playing well and they're in the real conversation of winning the National League Central and going deep into the playoffs, of course you have those conversations. But here's what I will say, and I know you don't always like what I have to say, but I'm going to say it anyway.
No, who
is Sandy Alcantara this season, okay? Because you think back to 2022 when he won the Cy Young. Of course, he was the best player in the National League for good reason. He won the award. 23, the numbers regress a little. 24, Tommy John surgery. It usually takes about a year, maybe plus, into the season to really regain the form of who they were pre-Tommy John. So the walk rate's up, the strikeout rate is down. Those are some of the numbers that are a little bit concerning. And obviously the ERA isn't great either, but that always doesn't tell the full story. So for me, yes, could he be a candidate for the Cubs? For sure, but I'm more concerned and interested, I should say, is who is this guy going to be this season?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Plesac says, oh, the velo's good, the spin looks great, I would go trade for him right now.
But the
I don't
velo
need
is
results.
down a little bit. It is still a tick.
It's down, but it's like still, he touches 98.
For sure.
He touches 98.
Yeah.
All right, so you watch so many Cub games, and you see the chess match that Craig Counsell loves to employ. He, before Dave Roberts got his contract restructured, he was the highest paid by a mile in terms of salary for a manager. Have you witnessed the Craig Counsell effect? Have you seen him, I think it's unfair to say, earn that check, but outmanage the opposition on a nightly basis? Have you seen it firsthand?
I think, yes. The short answer to that is yes. And here's what I will say, that I believe Craig brings so much that is not even quantifiable. But I think one of the things that he has really challenged this ball club overall with is how to be more aggressive with the 40-man roster. And you saw it in Milwaukee. It's what they did, and they still do. Roster manipulation when it comes to bringing guys up and down, really trying to leverage, a 6-man rotation. It's not something that gets a lot of attention, but how do you bring a guy up and down, and then how do you make moves out of the bullpen?
So his hands are on that?
Absolutely.
Calling guys up and sending guys down?
1,000%, yes.
Which is abnormal for most managers, by the way. That's a front office thing for the most part. Then they'll let the manager know. So that's interesting that he's got his hands in those circles.
Absolutely. He's always thinking 5 steps ahead. Craig is brilliant. There's a reason that he got paid what he did. So he has, without question, impacted this ball club. And I think there's a lot of ways, like I said, aren't quantifiable, but I think he's really challenged and brought great value to the club overall.
Oh,
Kevin,
dude.
I
love the Shark. All right, we're going to start off in Detroit. Tarek Skubal. This is Sierra's dude.
I love
He's rocking
Tarek.
and rolling. He is Cy
Bow
Young
down.
ready, and this fan is
Bow down when he
not
comes to your
worthy.
town.
I
Bow
know.
down.
on the tattoos
When
right
Westwood
there.
Bound.
Okay, keep it going. I like it. Back in San Francisco with this Giants fan. This is a crazy outfit. You look at it, you got like the interception
There's a lot
necklace,
going on.
Dalmatian fur, along with red shoulder pads and a cowboy hat. So I couldn't even tell you if he's from Alabama, Texas, Northern Cal, or he's an ex-firefighter. Off in Cleveland, this Guardians fan. By the way, this couple, I want you to understand, they party. This is what I'm talking about. Look at her. Yeah! Back to hubby, fired up, having a good time, little cold one.
They look fun.
That's what it's about. Yeah, they party. Back to Detroit. This is a pregame close Eskimo kiss. We're not Eskimo. We're fish-eyeing each other. We're getting
That's
the
a
eye of the
good jacket,
tiger. You
Jeff.
guys remember that? Oh yeah, that's a
really-
great jacket,
whoa.
Ryan.
Whoa.
This is exactly that fire engine
Do you still
candy
have that
red.
suit, Deb?
He does.
I
He
do,
does.
yeah. I break it out at
He's getting a
Christmas.
Ferrari painted. His Ferrari's getting painted that color. It's like candy apple red, fire engine orange.